What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first video in my garage build series. In this one, we're going to be tackling the loft in the new shop that I just moved into. It's new to me. It's not necessarily new. It's actually pretty old, probably 35 years old to be exact. It's pretty big, but the best thing about this shop is the fact that it has 15.5-foot ceilings, because honestly, it's not that large of a shop. It's only 34 feet deep by 23.5 feet wide. Really strange dimensions. The guy used it to service dump trucks in the past, so that's why it has such tall ceilings. You can see the massive garage door behind me. It doesn't look that big behind me, but that is a 20 by 12 garage door. So the thing is massive, and it also has an attached 2-car garage that walks into the house, so it's all kind of combined into one big shop. So I'm super excited about this. This is over 3 times the amount of space that I had before, not including vertical room, because I was only working out of a 17 by 17 2-car garage. But my wife and I moved into this house a couple months ago, and the house is kind of a fixer-upper too, kind of like the garage as well. And like most things, the shop just kind of became the catch-all of all the random crap, all my boxes. Nothing's organized. I don't have a good workspace. I can't find any tools to actually work on anything in the house. So enough is enough. It's time to get the garage somewhat done, so that way I can actually be more efficient on all my house projects and everything like that. I'm gonna get started on this. I've got a lot of stuff that I'm gonna have to move before the workspace to even put this thing in becomes available, because there is entirely too much crap everywhere. Well, finally, we got the area clear so we can actually begin the project. The amount of spiders and spider eggs that I swept up and killed is just insane. I don't think that this area has ever been cleaned. It's a bad part about having these really high ceilings too. There's so many dead bugs and spider webs way up there. But we'll be able to clean all those up when I actually get the loft put in. So how we're gonna start this, I'm going to mark exactly where the 4 posts for the loft are going to go. So we're going to have one here roughly, so it's going to be right at 8 feet on the edge, one there, and then one in that corner, one in the same corner over there. And that's going to support the ledger that is being bolted into the wall. You could technically run it off of there. There is enough dead and live load support based on just that ledger going into these 2x6 studs running up and down the wall. But just for added strength and not putting as much stress on the existing studs, I am adding those posts in, because even though I don't plan on putting too much up there, it will probably be a decent amount of weight eventually over time. So, time to get started. Well, due to some recent developments, I decided to kind of change the design a little bit. I got a little worried when I was messing with some of the stuff that there's flex in the walls. I don't know if you can see that on camera. It was a little sketchy. So I opened up this drywall hole that was already in here, and because these are only 2x4s construction, even though they're 16 feet tall on the outside, doesn't really meet code. They should be 2x6, and that's what I assumed when I was initially making this design, is that 2x6s would be fine to tie in with the ledger. But I'm a little sketched out because they are 2x4s, so we're just going to bypass essentially using the ledger as support, and we're going to build fox walls, I guess, just a normal stud wall here and a stud wall over there to actually support it all. And the ledgers will still be tied into the existing structure, but it'll be a little bit different just because it'll be using the stud wall for strength rather than mostly the ledger. Okay, so I have pretty much the entire perimeter done and structurally attached to the studs. So I was using these pretty large 4.5-inch GRK fasteners. They take the place of lag bolts. They're a lot cheaper than lag bolts too, and they cause a little bit less damage to the studs and actually have a lot higher of a shear strength. So those are all super firmly attached. We got the ledgers, which essentially aren't even ledgers at this point because they have a stud wall to actually rest upon. And then essentially the first joist is also attached the same way. I do need to add a couple more to this one. That one should be pretty much completely attached. I didn't need to use as many as I did just because of the fact that it's using all 3 stud walls now to get all of its strength, and it's going to be all the load bearings done by that, not necessarily the ones that are attached to the walls. But why not double up just in case I add too much weight up there eventually. But we're ready to start adding the joists spanning here. So this is about a 13 feet, I believe 9 inches in total span for this side, and then that side's a little bit over 9 feet. I think it's like 9 feet 1 inch or something like that of the total span. So it's not crazy. 2x10s are perfectly fine, especially with 12-inch on center. Technically for that span you'd be fine 16-inch on center. Anyway, time to cut all the joists out for this side, and then we'll move on to the shorter side after that. All right, so we just finished up the framing on the small side. We got all the blocking and made it extremely stable. I still need to go through and hit these like double plate with like the thick timber screws just in a few spots at the end and then in the mid plate here. I am going to make out of steel. I thought about buying some, but I can make something that looks a lot nicer, like little end plates to actually tie the beam into like the stud walls, so all three will get it, and it'll be nice because it'll kind of cover up this ugly end here that I got with the 2x4s. That'll come at a later date when I actually have room to like start fabricating some stuff again. But yeah, it's pretty much done. Just got to throw the OSB up on top and screw it in. Okay, so we got all of the flooring on, so essentially this part of the loft is completely done. I'm not going to start putting anything up here. I still have a lot more plans for building some shelving and stuff like that. I also want to paint the whole thing, figure out some other stuff with it, so I don't want to start throwing more stuff up here, or anything up here rather, until I get it all done. But yeah, essentially it's all done. That last piece was kind of a pain. You can see I messed up the drywall a little bit. I could have added a little bit more tolerance because it didn't have to be perfectly tight into the tongue, and just getting it into the tongue groove is kind of the only issue. I'm not really worried about the drywall there, just because I'm going to put shelving for like Rubbermaid and storage bins, stuff like that on that side, so you won't really even see it anyway. But yeah, I'm super happy to make any progress with this thing right now. It's been a long time since I've been in this garage and I haven't done anything with it, so it's nice finally seeing something come together. I'm going to kind of clean up a little bit, kind of organize some stuff, and then we can actually come back and I'll probably do a cost breakdown, and then we'll see the final product once I get some stuff under it, and we can kind of see how much more room I gained. All right, that's a little bit better. I'll be finishing this up over the next few days, but at least this kind of gives you an idea of a little bit more space that I got from this. I'm gonna go in and we're gonna jam up exactly how much this costs to build. Even with inflated wood costs right now, it wasn't too expensive. Thinking about it from the fact of I added 180 square feet to the garage. So essentially it's 41 feet deep now. So it made a big difference with the amount of storage, amount of room that I have in here. So for the cost, I think it was under $1,000. Really wasn't too bad, but we'll go add it up completely so that way you guys can get a complete cost breakdown. Well, who would have thought? I never went inside and actually filmed that. So I'm gonna do the cost breakdown now. This is obviously really far into the build, and the whole garage has progressed so far, so you get a little sneak peek if you made it this far into the video. So anyway, the first thing that we have on the cost breakdown is plywood. Plywood's probably like the most inflated thing right now with all the stupid prices of wood. Those were like $49 a sheet for just OSB tongue and groove, and that came out to $249. Then we got 2x4s, so we needed a bunch of those for the stud walls. So we have the middle one, and then we got the 2 end cap ones to support the actual loft, because we didn't want to just tie in to the existing structure of the building. Those weren't too bad because I bought them at a good time. It was $145.35 for all of those, so not terrible at all. Then I needed 10 of the larger 2x10s that we needed to span this large section behind me. Those were kind of expensive at like 16-ish a board, so it came out to $173.45. Then we needed the shorter 2x10s. I ended up going with the 12-foot lengths just because those were the cheapest for how much board foot you got. And those came out to be in a total of $181.99 for 13 of them. And that was to do like the ledgers on the side, and then obviously the joist for the loft. Then I had a bunch of miscellaneous hardware, such as like the ledger locks that we were using to secure the boards to the studs into the shop. And then all the screws and bracketry and stuff like that that I ended up using to support it all. That came out to being $187 for a grand total of $936, not including all the paint or all the finish work that you see right now. All in all, it really isn't that terrible, because if you wanted to do an addition to your shop or something like that, it's going to cost you way more than $960 to add 180-ish square feet to your shop. Yeah, it's kind of hard to use it all, but it does make a huge difference having the ability to throw things up there. You can't really throw really heavy things up there just because I don't have a physical way of getting them up there other than carrying them. Maybe one day I'm gonna add like a hoist or something, that way I could like raise up heavy duty bins, wheels, tires, stuff like that, maybe an engine, I don't know, stuff like that, and get it out of the way. I don't have anything like that, so right now it has to be me either throwing it up there from the bottom or carrying it up the stairs, and the stairs are a little sketchy. Anyway, if you have any questions about the shop or anything like that, or you want to see, let me know and I'll throw it in a future video, because there's a lot more stuff that needs to come out on this whole build, because obviously a lot has been done. So you guys get a sneak peek if you made it this far. Anyway, I'm gonna end the video out. It's already really, really long, and hopefully we'll see you guys with the next video.